Good morning. This is Dr. Zachariah here on Islamic ShuraTV with the health program. I'm glad that you guys could make it. Today is the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal. For Muslims, it's the birth of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And he was someone who was born in Rabi al-Awwal, which is a rejuvenating month, a spring month, the spring. It was the spring month, so it was a month for renewal and a day for taking stock and doing things anew. So we wanted to wish those viewers a happy birth of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And today's topic is cognitive rejuvenation. What we wanted to discuss was what we see in society here today a lot is we see a lot of toxic chemicals which are not good for brain functioning. And brain functioning meaning the physical brain itself organically, which leads to some symptoms that most people will tell you they have, whether they call it brain fog or they call it memory loss or short-term memory loss. It's something which is common in society. Today we find specifically in people that are 55 and over, we find a lot of cognitive decline. Now, the question is, what is this attributed to? Why is this happening now? Or is it that we're catching it more now, or we're getting diagnosis and incidents more now than before? So most doctors' offices, a senior or someone will come in, middle-aged, 40s, 50s, and they'll be like, oh, I can't remember where I placed things, or I don't remember the names of certain people, or I don't remember the sequence of certain things. It's very important for us to first identify the problem, right? Identifying the problem will not only help those people, but it will also identify someone who has what we know as a busy brain. And what happens in today's society, back in the days, people had one job, one person would work, the rest of the family would go to school, come back. It was pretty laid back, relaxed life. Currently, living in the 21st century in the West, it's a big race. Everybody in every different aspect of their lives, there's tasks that they have to perform, and these tasks can get overwhelming for them, whether it's basic tasks for their family or it's functional things that they have to do for work, for school, for the society, the community they're in, for their church, for their mosque, for their synagogue, whatever they need to do. There's lists, there's tasks. And on top of all that, people wear multiple hats, meaning that, they could be a mom, they can be a professional working, a lawyer, a handyman, or they have their job to take care of, they have their family to take care of. So things get overwhelming for them. So when this happens, we have to be aware of certain signs that your mind is becoming overcrowded. So when that happens, we have to be able to identify it first. IDing the problem is the first step to going to the solutions and taking care of the problem, right? So that's very important. I would recommend if someone feels overwhelmed in terms of their daily activities, in terms of their responsibilities, the best thing to do is first identify it, right? So that's consciously being cognizant of what's happening. And in order to get your mind back at the top level or optimal level, then the second thing I would say is to write it down. Yes, write it down. Don't type it down. Don't, text it down, but write it down, okay? So your brain has different functions, and when you write something down with your hand, and you're looking at it and you think about it, that has a different blueprint in the brain than as if you text something or you typed it on a screen. So the second thing would be to write it down. So, right, number one is to identify the problem, right? And the problem would be what? That you have a busy brain. How do you have a busy brain? Because you have multiple tasks to do. You have a lot of things to do. What are you going to do to alleviate that stress on you and on your brain? And if you want to rejuvenate your cognitive symptoms back to normal, this is a process that's important to do, okay? Number three, is being mindful, right? Being mindful is a very trendy term these days. Everyone is mindful and aware of where you are, who you are, what you're doing, how you're thinking, how you affect people, what you say, how it affects you, how you're feeling, how your feelings come about by the words that you utilize. It's being mindful, choosing, being very deliberate. So if you're deliberate on these things, this is being mindful. And being mindful helps your brain rest and organize, right? Because you sleep every day, right? You sleep every night. When you sleep, your brain does not sleep. It organizes and functions continuously, maybe at a lesser rate, but it still functions. So your brain is organizing. And if you're being mindful, number one, recognize the problem. Number two, put it to paper, write it down, make a list of things that you need to do, things that you're overwhelmed with. Make the list. And number three, be mindful, right? Being mindful is very important because that unlocks the busy brain, okay? And then the fourth thing is we want you to talk to someone about this process, right? You've identified the problem. You've made a list of all the tasks that you have to do. You've become mindful and you're becoming aware of the tasks that you're going to do, how you're going to do it, what you're going to do. Number four, discuss it. Discuss it, whether it's someone that's involved in those tasks, whether it's a life partner, a husband, a wife, an oldest child. Discuss how you're going to tackle those tasks, whether it's work tasks, family tasks, social setting tasks. You're working, you're writing a program, you're doing an online business, whatever you're doing, how you take care of your children, how to write your blog, or whatever exercise you're doing, you need to talk to someone about it. If you talk to someone about it, that expands your mind and it also gets you ideas and a different perspective than just your own. Because you're not alone, right? There's people around you, you interact. We're in a society, we're in a social setting. That helps to rejuvenate your mind and it rests your brain. It decreases the band in terms of the stress on your brain and your thinking capacity. Okay. So when you talk to someone, it decreases the stress on that because you verbalized it now, and someone else gives you feedback. That's very important. Okay. So that will help calm the mind. If you have a busy brain, if you take these steps, this will calm your mind and it'll get it ready for optimal performance. So these things I discussed are all what? These are task-oriented and behavioral things, right? So that's one aspect of calming and rejuvenating the mind back so it's at optimal level. The other thing is, what other nutrients does your brain need in order for it to function from the inside, right? We believe in functional medicine. It's very important what you consume in terms of food and how it affects your longevity and how it affects your brain function, right? So you've traditionally, I'm sure you've heard about healthy brain foods, right? Almonds, walnuts, right? Good fats. These have very good fats. Fatty fish, right? Abundance of omega-3 fatty acids. Avoiding unsaturated fats, all right? So unsaturated fats, they have that beta amyloid. Beta amyloid and amyloid deposits are what are present in people who have Alzheimer's. So that's very important, right? So you want to have lower levels of the beta amyloids. So you want to have the fatty fish, which are abundant in omega-3s, okay? That's what you need to do for that. Other things that you can eat, bananas, carrots, coconut, collard greens, hemp seeds. There's tons of stuff, but these are the main things. Lentils. Stay off a lot of the red meat. A lot of red meat is not too good for brain functioning, okay? Black beans are good. The berries, strawberry, raspberry, blueberry, very good, very good. Figs, we're in the fall season now, pumpkin seeds. These are all good brain foods. they maintain your brain, and these are foods that are increasing the nutrients for your brain, okay? It's very important. At times you might need a concentration boost, so you can have limited amounts of green tea, coffee, but not too much, right? That gives you short-term functioning and focusing, so that's important. These foods and these vegetables that we described, they all have a good source of protein, right? Protein and good fat. That's the brain food. Carbs are okay, but they're short-lived. They give you a quick boost of glucose, and then it dies out. So you need good proteins and good fats for your brain. This is very important from the internal perspective of how you maintain your brain, right? That's very important. And then, of course, another behavioral and functional thing you can do is exercise, of course, right? Exercise increases the production of certain neurochemicals that promote cell repair in the brain. So that's very important. So if you have a good exercise routine, not only does it promote good neurochemicals, exercise also can improve memory and increase attention span, especially in this day and age of everyone's, on their phones and on these apps, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp or Snapchat, whatever it is, it's 5 to 30-second tidbits of information, and that gets your brain used to that short attention span. So if you want to increase that, exercise would be a great way to increase the attention span. Also, decision-making skills. Decision-making skills, there are studies that have seen exercise improve that in people. That's very important, decision-making skills, because part of the stress of the busy brain is that we make the wrong decision. If we can be mindful, sit back, and you do exercise, and you have all those components, and you're getting enough oxygen and movement in your body, then you'll become a better decision maker, which will decrease the stress on the brain. Okay? And then also what we know as neurogenesis, which is the growth and the promotion of new nerve cells and blood vessels, angiogenesis in the brain and in the circuits. Exercise helps with that as well. It stimulates that. It's very important. And of course, there are, we'll get into some medical treatments for these things. And then also, the key is to improve your multitasking and planning capabilities. If you can do that, exercise does that for you with eating the right foods and utilizing that protocol that I gave you for decreasing the stress on the busy brain, right? Identify the problem, write down your tasks, be mindful of it, discuss it with someone, your plan on how to tackle it, and then keep persistent and keep on doing that. Okay? The key is to be persistent and not give up. If you're someone that quickly gives up on things, that's not good for your brain. Persistence is good. Persistence and identifying the problem, writing it down, what your issues are and what you have to get done, what you need to accomplish. 3, talking to someone, right? Be mindful about it and then talk to someone, right? The mindfulness, again, gives you a rest of the brain. Talk to someone and then keep executing your plan. Same while you're eating the good foods for the brain. How to rejuvenate the brain, stay away from all those saturated fats, right? So it's important, very important. And then tea and coffee is a little bit, for concentration, but that's transitory, which means it doesn't last that long, okay? Simple things that you can do as your brain ages. It normally ages, obviously. People nowadays are suffering from Alzheimer's and all types of neurocognitive issues. It's important to keep that in mind, but remember, the foods, the green veggies, I told you, the fatty fish, the berries, tea, coffee, walnuts, almonds, right? Bananas, broccoli, oranges, lentils, black beans, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds. These things are all good for brain functioning. It's very important. So at least try to get some of these foods. It's very important, okay, on a daily basis. And then to maintain, how do you maintain the brain, right? Maintenance is very important, right? Lack of a better word, how do you stretch your brain? How do you stretch it? And how do you keep it engaged? It's very important. Number one, you can do like things like puzzles, right? In-depth reading that you have to understand and think about. Not simple reading, something that's a little bit more complex that you have to think. You have multi-complex thinking patterns that are happening in your brain, and you have to understand, right? That gives you mental stimulation, ongoing education about things. If you're always learning about things and then teaching others, discussing it with others, presenting to others, it's very important that you can do that. Nowadays with social media, everyone can be a presenter of some type of information that they're an expert in. Get that information, digest it, learn it, teach it to others. That's the best thing you can do. Learn a language, Arabic. It's very important. A lot of people want to learn Arabic so they can understand different texts. You can do that. That is very good for exercising and stretching of the brain. That'll rejuvenate your brain and get it stimulated so you don't have those issues of forgetfulness and brain fog and these types of symptoms, right? We already discussed eating a healthy diet, reduce saturated fats, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, fish, that's very important. And then connection, right? Very important. Again, I always discuss this. Connection and being social is very important. Not in terms of social media, but in terms of really meeting your loved ones, your family members, your friends, your colleagues, and having a communal event or an occurrence that can help you. That is far more beneficial than the food and the steps that I outlined. Is that you have a sense of community and you have people to talk to and discuss what's going on in your life and what you plan to do and what you want to do. And it should be an exchange, not a one way where someone's just talking and you're listening. It should be an exchange of ideas where you feel comfortable and you're talking to someone and you feel at rest, at peace, and you can relax, put your guard down. This is your friend. This is someone that knows you. You can just relax and talk to them about anything you want. That is very important. You should at least do that once or twice a week. That is very good for brain health, right? That keeps the connection. So stimulation, right? With the languages, puzzles, ongoing education. What you feed yourself, obviously we discussed that. 3, connection. Connection is very important. Connecting to people, having a social atmosphere, discussing things, having projects that you discuss things with people and you're comfortable with, and you can be yourself. You're not holding your feelings in, you're not holding your tongue. You're just being yourself and you can be in a comfortable environment. That's very, very good. And then 4th is obviously exercise, moving, appropriate to your fitness level. Obviously, we don't want you to go exercise and do a Ironman race and you're just, coming off the couch after COVID, That's not what we're talking about. Just movement. Even if you walk 20 minutes a day outside, you're breathing fresh air, you're walking, you're getting good energy. That is something which will rejuvenate your brain, okay? And what it does physically is increases the blood flow to your brain. So these things are very important, very good. Anything that increases the blood flow, which stimulates oxygen delivery, that's very important for the brain. So these are the things that generally will rejuvenate your cognitive status and brain health. These are very important. They're very simple things. It's nothing crazy. There are supplements, and on the medical side of it, there are supplements you can take. There are certain IV Sorry about that. We had a technical glitch. We lost the feed. So, summarizing again, maintaining your brain health, of course, the behavior pattern, stimulating your brain, eating the right foods, and then behaviorally organizing things in your mind, being mindful. Three, connecting and being in a social atmosphere where you're comfortable and you can discuss things. And finally, exercise. Exercise is very important. Other than that, if you seek medical means, you can do IV therapy. They'll give you certain nutrients that are good for your brain. That's something you can get regularly. You can do supplements. There's a list and a whole list of supplements that we'll discuss in terms of what's good for you and your brain. And then also, there are certain treatments that are known as regenerative treatments that are for rejuvenating the brain. That's also something that we'll discuss in future shows. But for now, I think that's a good summary of what we've discussed. And if you have any further questions or concerns, and you'd like to know how to get help on getting, brain rejuvenation or cognitive rejuvenation, feel free to message us and text us, and we'll get you to the right practitioner. And with that, I'd like to wish you a happy week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Have a great day.